My mother called me in a panic. "Is your wife at home?" I said. "Yes, why?" She replied. "Go to your wife's closet, check the bottom drawer, do not tell her you found it." I asked, "What is going on?" She said, "Just do it, call me back, but don't let her know." I went to her closet. What I discovered was unbelievable. It was an ordinary Thursday evening when I got the call. The kind of evening where everything feels just as it should, a quiet dinner with my wife, the soft hum of the television in the background, and the familiar sounds of the neighborhood filtering through the windows. Everything was fine, or so I thought. I'd been sitting at the kitchen table, casually scrolling through my phone when the call came in. It was from my mother. Now my mom and I had always been close, but this call was different. There was an urgency in her voice that immediately made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. My mother was never one to panic, never the type to sound frantic over trivial things. So when I heard her voice crack through the line, I knew something was terribly wrong. "Hello," I answered, trying to sound normal, though I could feel my heart rate quicken. "Is your wife home?" she asked, her voice strained and sharp, almost as if she was afraid of something, of being overheard. I glanced over at Sarah, who was sitting on the couch, laughing at something on TV, completely unaware of the conversation I was having. I paused for a moment, trying to gauge what was going on. "Yeah, she's here. Why, what's going on?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line before my mother spoke again, her voice low and urgent. "Listen to me very carefully and don't ask questions. Go to your wife's closet, check the bottom drawer. Do not tell her you found it. Do you understand?" My pulse skipped a beat. "What, Mom, what are you talking about? What's in the drawer?" "I don't have time to explain, just do it," she said, her voice trembling now. "Check the drawer. And whatever you do, don't tell her. Don't tell her you're looking. Call me back when you've done it." I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what she was saying. "Mom, you're scaring me. What's going on? What's in the drawer?" "I can't say right now, just trust me. Please just check it, call me after." Before I could ask anything else, the line went dead. I stood there, staring at my phone, the words echoing in my mind. "Check the drawer. Don't tell her, call me back." It didn't make sense. My mother wasn't the type to send cryptic messages like that. She wasn't the type to tell me to sneak around my wife, especially after all these years of us being close. I had always trusted Sarah. Sure, she had her quirks, but nothing that would ever make me suspect anything was off. So why the sudden panic? Why was my mother so adamant that I search her closet? I looked over at Sarah again, who was still engrossed in whatever was on TV, completely oblivious to the growing storm in my mind. My heart was pounding in my chest. The thought of searching through Sarah's things, without her knowing, felt wrong. It felt like an invasion of her privacy. But then, there was that nagging voice in my head. My mother had never been wrong before, and something about the urgency in her voice told me this was serious. I told myself to calm down, that it was probably nothing. Maybe she just misplaced something, or maybe it was a misunderstanding. But deep down, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I tried to rationalize the situation. "It's just a drawer," I muttered to myself, as if saying the words out loud would ease the tension building in my chest. I needed to know the truth. I needed to find out what my mother was so concerned about. But at the same time, I didn't want to believe that there could be something to hide. After all, I loved Sarah. I trusted her with everything. But if my mother was asking me to do this, it had to mean something. I stood up and walked toward the hallway, my heart beating in my throat. Each step I took felt heavier than the last, each movement seeming more like an act of betrayal than a search for the truth. My feet carried me down the corridor, past the living room where Sarah sat, laughing without a care in the world. When I reached the bedroom, I stopped outside the door, unsure of what I was doing. I could hear Sarah's laughter in the other room, the normality of the situation making everything feel even more surreal. I paused for a moment, listening to the sound of her voice. It was the same laugh I had heard 1,000 times, the one that had made me fall in love with her all those years ago. But now, as I stood there in the quiet hallway, a feeling of dread settled over me. What if I found something I wasn't supposed to see? What if this was all some sort of misunderstanding? My mind raced as I walked into the bedroom, trying to push the thoughts away. I reached the closet and opened the door slowly, almost hesitantly. There was Sarah's side of the closet, neatly organized, her clothes hung perfectly, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the air. It felt so normal, so safe, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I knelt down in front of the bottom drawer of her dresser, my fingers trembling slightly. The drawer was slightly ajar, as if it had been opened recently. My heart pounded in my chest as I slowly pulled it open. The first thing I saw was a small stack of folded clothes. I sifted through them carefully, hoping to find something, anything, that could explain what my mother had meant. And then, at the very bottom of the drawer, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, hidden beneath a few old scarves, was a small, unmarked envelope. It was thick, slightly yellowed, and sealed with a wax stamp. My fingers brushed against it, and the feeling of it in my hands was unsettling. I turned the envelope over, but there was no name, no markings, nothing to indicate what it was or who it was for. I pulled the envelope out and stared at it, my breath coming in shallow gasps. My mind was spinning, my thoughts racing faster than I could keep up. What was this? Why was it hidden in Sarah's drawer? And why did my mother want me to find it? Without thinking, I tore open the envelope, my hands shaking. Inside, I found a single sheet of paper, folded in half. I slowly unfolded it and began to read. My stomach dropped as I read the words. The letter was from someone I didn't recognize, but the contents were chilling. The letter spoke of secret meetings, of promises made and plans that had been set in motion. And at the bottom, there was a name, one that sent a wave of nausea through me. It was a man's name. A name I didn't recognize, but one that made everything in my world feel like it was crashing down around me. I stared at the letter, my heart pounding in my chest. The words blurred in front of my eyes as I tried to comprehend what I had just read. The secrets, the lies, the betrayal. I closed the envelope and shoved it back into the drawer, my mind racing. I didn't know what to think, what to believe. What had I just uncovered? What was Sarah involved in? As I stood there, my hands still shaking, I realized one thing. This was only the beginning. My life as I knew it was about to change forever, and there was no turning back. I stood frozen in Sarah's closet, the envelope still clutched in my hand, the words on the paper swirling in my mind. It felt like I was holding the key to a door I wasn't sure I wanted to open. The man's name at the bottom of the letter haunted me. I didn't recognize it, but it wasn't just the name. It was the content of the letter itself that sent shivers down my spine. What had I just found? What was Sarah involved in? I didn't know what to do next. I had come looking for an explanation, some small hint of what was going on, and now I had stumbled onto something far more disturbing than I could have imagined. I had thought the weird call from my mother was just paranoia. But now, standing in the silence of the closet, the truth felt like a punch to the gut. I had to understand what this was about, what had been hidden right under my nose for who knows how long. I shoved the letter back into the envelope, my hands trembling. I had no idea where to go from here. Should I confront Sarah? Should I demand answers? Or was I better off keeping this discovery to myself for now? What if it was all just a misunderstanding? What if my mother had been wrong? I glanced over my shoulder, almost expecting Sarah to walk into the room at any moment, her eyes full of suspicion. But she was still in the living room, probably watching TV, blissfully unaware of what I had just uncovered. I had to act quickly. I couldn't let her know I had snooped through her things. I couldn't let her know that I had found something so incriminating. I quickly closed the drawer and stood up, my mind racing. I walked out of the closet, my footsteps strangely heavy like I was walking through a fog. I tried to calm myself, but the unease in my chest was overwhelming. What was I supposed to do? My mother's words echoed in my mind. Don't tell her. Call me back after. I glanced at my phone. I had no idea what time it was, but I knew I needed to talk to my mother. I needed to know what was really going on. The letter, the secrecy, everything about it screamed that there was something much darker at play here. I walked into the living room, trying to act normal, trying to hide the turmoil inside me. Sarah was sitting on the couch, her back to me, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside my head. She looked relaxed, her hair spilling over her shoulders in soft waves. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe that nothing had changed, that this was just another evening, just another night in our life together. But then the letter surfaced in my mind again, and everything felt like it was falling apart. I didn't know what Sarah had been hiding, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't ignore it. Hey, I said, my voice betraying none of the anxiety I felt. I'm going to step outside for a bit. She turned to look at me, a slight frown crossing her face. Everything okay? She asked, her voice light, but I could hear the hint of concern in it. Yeah, just need some air, I replied, forcing a smile. I didn't want her to see the panic in my eyes, the doubt that had taken root in my chest. She nodded, returning her attention to the TV. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside, the cold air hitting me as soon as I opened the door. The rush of it felt good, grounding me in the midst of the chaos swirling in my head. I walked down the street, my thoughts racing. My mother's words were still fresh in my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to call her just yet, not until I knew more. I needed answers. I stopped at the small park near our house, the one Sarah and I used to visit when we were first dating. I stood there for a long time, watching the stillness of the night, the quiet that was both comforting and unsettling. The words in the letter echoed through my mind. Secret meetings, plans in motion, a name I didn't recognize. Why had Sarah hidden this? Why had she kept something like this from me? And more importantly, what did it all mean? Was this an affair? Had she been seeing someone behind my back? Or was there something else going on, something darker, more complicated? My phone buzzed in my pocket and I pulled it out, half expecting it to be Sarah. But it was my mother's name on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered the call. "Mom," I said, my voice low, I found it." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "You found it?" she asked, her voice tight with worry. "Did you check it? Did you read it?" "I read it," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I don't understand. What is all this? Why did you tell me to look? What does this mean?" My mother sighed heavily, the sound filled with regret. "I didn't want to drag you into this, but you have to understand something. Your wife, she's been involved in something she hasn't told you about, something that could destroy everything." "What are you talking about?" I asked, confusion and fear creeping into my voice. "What's going on? What's in that letter?" My mother was silent for a moment before she spoke again. "It's a business deal, but it's more than that. It's dangerous. Your wife got herself involved with the wrong people, people who don't take kindly to being betrayed, and she's been keeping it all from you. She thought she could handle it, but she's in too deep now, and it's about to blow up." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My mind raced as I tried to process what my mother was saying. Jessica, my wife, the woman I had trusted with everything, had gotten involved in something dangerous, and I had no idea how to fix it. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "what do I do? What do I do now?" "I don't know," she said softly, "but you need to confront her. You need to make her tell you the truth. And whatever you do, don't let her out of your sight." My heart was pounding now, the weight of everything crashing down on me. My mother's words hung in the air like a dark cloud, suffocating everything else. My wife, the woman I had known for years, had been hiding something from me, something dangerous, something that could destroy everything we had. "I will," I said, my voice cold with determination. "I'll get to the bottom of this." I hung up the phone, the weight of my decision settling in. I didn't know where this would lead. I didn't know what I would find when I confronted Sarah. But one thing was clear, my life, as I knew it, was about to change forever. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that hung over me after I hung up the phone. My mind was racing, the weight of my mother's words pressing down on my chest like a suffocating blanket. "Your wife, been involved in something she hasn't told you about. It's dangerous." The words replayed over and over, each time carrying more weight, more significance. I didn't know where to begin. How could I confront Sarah about something like this? What would I even say? "Hey, I found a letter in your drawer and it mentions a business deal with people I've never heard of, people who might be dangerous. Care to explain?" It sounded ridiculous even to me. But the letter, my mother's warning, left me with no choice. Something was wrong. Something had been hidden from me and I couldn't just walk away from it. Not after everything. I stood outside in the cold night air for what felt like hours, trying to gather my thoughts. The street was eerily quiet, the only sound being the rustle of leaves as the wind picked up. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, but nothing could shake the anxiety building up inside me. I needed answers. I needed the truth, and I wasn't going to let fear stop me from finding it. I walked back into the house, my feet heavy, as if the very air inside was thick with the uncertainty I felt. Sarah was still sitting in the living room, her eyes glued to the TV. She looked so normal, so carefree, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her, trying to figure out how to approach her. Should I be calm, measured, or confrontational? How could I even start this conversation without her thinking I was crazy? But then I remembered my mother's voice, calm and steady, urging me to confront her, to not let her hide anymore. The time for second guessing was over. "Sarah," I said, my voice a little harsher than I intended. She glanced up from the TV, her expression softening. "Hey, what's up? You okay?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure I was. I felt like a man walking on a tightrope, each step precarious. "We need to talk." The concern on her face deepened. "About what?" I took a deep breath. There was no more dancing around it, no more pretending like everything was normal. The lies had gone on long enough and it was time to get the truth. "I found something that doesn't make sense." She furrowed her brows, clearly caught off guard. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice soft, but I could hear the tension there. I walked over to the couch and sat down beside her, feeling a cold wave of dread wash over me. I didn't want to do this, not like this, but I had to. "The letter," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "The one hidden in your closet." She blinked, her eyes going wide. For a brief moment I thought I saw something: fear, guilt. flicker across her face, but it was gone almost as quickly as it appeared. She cleared her throat, trying to remain composed. "What letter? I don't know what you're talking about." I looked at her, trying to read her expression, but all I saw was a wall. She was good at keeping things hidden. Too good. "The one from the man, the one that was in the envelope in your drawer. Who is he, Sarah?" Her face remained blank for a moment, but I saw her hands tighten into fists in her lap. She wasn't used to being caught off guard. She wasn't used to being challenged. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said again, but her voice wavered this time. I shook my head, not believing her for a second. "Don't lie to me, Sarah. I know what I saw. The letter mentioned a business deal, a project. There was a name at the bottom. Who is he, and what's going on?" She opened her mouth to speak, but then paused, like she was trying to gather her thoughts. It was a rare moment of hesitation, and I knew then that I was getting closer to the truth. "Okay," she finally said, her voice low and controlled. "I should have told you sooner." "Why didn't you?" I demanded, my voice growing louder. "What's going on, Sarah?" She sighed and leaned back against the couch, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "I didn't want you to get involved. I didn't want you to worry. It's a business venture, something I got involved with a few months ago. I didn't think it was a big deal, but then it got complicated." "Complicated?" I echoed, my voice rising with disbelief. "You didn't think it was a big deal? Sarah, this involves some random guy, secret meetings, a deal that could destroy everything. How could you not think it was a big deal?" "I didn't know how to tell you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could handle it on my own, but I couldn't, and now I don't know how to fix it." I was furious, but I couldn't let the anger control me. Not yet. I had to understand this, had to know what was going on. Who is this guy? What's his involvement in all this? She bit her lip, looking down at her hands. "His name is Richard Moore. He's an investor, someone I met through work. He offered me a deal, something that would get me ahead in the firm. It started off simple, but then it became more complicated. The money, the promises, it all started to spiral out of control." "Spiral out of control?" I repeated. "What do you mean?" She looked up at me, her eyes full of regret. "I didn't want to get into this, but I'm in too deep now. Richard is connected to people I don't fully understand. It's a risky deal, one that could either make us incredibly rich or ruin everything. And I got caught up in it. I thought I could manage it, keep it under control, but it's too big now." My mind was spinning, trying to process everything she was telling me. Richard Moore, an investor. She had kept all of this from me, this secret world that she had been living in. She had been hiding it for months, lying to my face, pretending like everything was normal. And now the truth was coming out in drips, one piece at a time. "And now what?" I asked, my voice tight with frustration. "What happens now?" She looked at me, her face pale. "Now I'm stuck. I've made promises I can't keep. I've said things that were never true, and I don't know how to get out of it. Richard, he's been pressuring me to close the deal. He wants me to commit to something bigger, something that could change everything, and I don't know if I'm ready for it." I felt a wave of anger surge through me. She had been hiding all of this for months, lying to me about something so serious, so dangerous. And now she expected me to just sit back and watch her destroy everything we had worked for. "You have to stop, Sarah," I said, my voice shaking. "This is insane. This isn't just about business anymore. This is about us, about our marriage. How could you hide this from me? How could you let it go this far?" She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted this to happen, but now it's too late. I've made my choice and I don't know how to undo it." "Then we're done," I said, the words hitting me like a cold slap. "You've made your choice, Sarah, and I've made mine. I can't trust you anymore, not after everything." I stood up, my heart breaking, but I couldn't let her see how much it hurt. I couldn't let her see how much I still cared. She had betrayed me and I couldn't let that go. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice barely audible, but I didn't turn back. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice cold. "You need to figure this out on your own. I can't be part of it." The days that followed my confrontation with Sarah were some of the most difficult I had ever faced. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the pain in her face, the tears she shed as I walked away. But as much as I wanted to reach out to her, to make everything right again, I couldn't. The trust between us had been shattered, and I didn't know if it could ever be repaired. I stayed with my parents for the first few nights. I needed space to think, to process everything that had happened. I had no idea how long I would stay there, but I knew I couldn't return to the house yet. Every time I thought about Sarah, about everything she had hidden from me, the anger and hurt came rushing back. She had lied to me for months, hiding a dangerous secret that could have torn our entire life apart. I couldn't shake the image of her face when she told me about the deal with Richard Moore. The lies she had told, the way she had manipulated me into thinking everything was fine. And then, there was the fear in her eyes when she admitted how deep she was in. She was trapped, and now, I was caught in the web she had woven. I didn't know if I could forgive her, or if I even wanted to. I spent the first few days in silence, avoiding the phone calls and texts she sent me. She apologized over and over, but her words felt hollow. How could I believe her now? How could I trust anything she said after everything that had happened? I had always believed in second chances and redemption, but this felt different. This was more than just a mistake. This was betrayal. She had crossed a line I wasn't sure I could come back from. The truth was, I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know if there was a way forward for us, or if it was too late to salvage anything. I thought about our life together, the years we had spent building a future, the promises we had made. And I couldn't help but wonder if all of it had been a lie. Had I been living in a fantasy, or had I just been too blind to see the truth? One night I couldn't take it any longer. The silence was driving me mad. I had to see her. I had to hear her side of the story again, even if I wasn't ready to forgive her. So I picked up the phone and dialed her number. It rang several times before she picked up. "Hello," she said, her voice soft and uncertain. She sounded different, almost fragile, and I realized how much her world had changed since our confrontation. She wasn't the confident woman I had known for so long. She was scared, and maybe, just maybe, I was scared too. "Sarah," I said, my voice heavy, "we need to talk." There was a long pause before she responded. "I know," she whispered. "I've been waiting for you to call. I don't know what to say, I don't know how to make this right, but I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you." I closed my eyes, trying to push back the wave of emotions that threatened to overwhelm me. "I don't know if I can keep doing this, Sarah. I don't know if I can trust you again. You've hurt me more than I can put into words. I don't know if I can ever get past this." "I understand," she said softly. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I'm asking you to listen. I'm asking you to give me a chance to explain." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words pressing on me. I didn't know if I wanted to listen. I didn't know if I could handle hearing her try to justify everything she had done. But I needed answers. I needed to understand what had happened, why she had kept this from me, and how deep this went. "Where are you?" I asked, my voice quieter now. "Let's talk in person." "I'm at the house," she replied, a slight tremor in her voice. "But I understand if you don't want to come here. I don't expect you to come back after what I've done." I could hear the sadness in her voice, and it tore at me. It wasn't just anger I was feeling anymore. It was a strange mix of compassion, regret, and fear. I didn't know what I would find when I walked through that door, but I knew I had to face it. I had to see her. I had to hear her explanation, no matter how much it hurt. "I'll be there in an hour," I said, my voice final. "I'll be there and we'll figure this out." The drive back to the house felt like the longest one of my life. As I navigated the familiar streets, I couldn't stop thinking about everything that had happened. The past few days had felt like a blur, and now, as I pulled into the driveway, everything seemed impossibly clear. I had loved her. I still loved her, but I didn't know if I could go back to that life. I didn't know if I could trust her again. I walked to the front door, my hand hesitating on the knob. I had no idea what I was walking into, no idea what I was going to say when I saw her face again. My heart was racing, but I knew I couldn't turn back now. This was the moment of truth. Either we would work through this, or we would go our separate ways. Either we would rebuild, or we would both be left in ruins. I opened the door and stepped inside. Sarah was sitting on the couch, her hands folded in her lap. She looked up when she heard me enter, her face pale and drawn. She had been crying. I could see the red around her eyes, the way she flinched when I walked into the room. She was vulnerable in a way I had never seen her before, and it made my heart ache. She wasn't the woman I had been angry at the other day. She was the woman I had once loved, the woman I had shared my life with. "Hi," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "We need to talk." "I know," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't know how to make this right. I don't know if I can fix what I've done, but I want to try." I sat down across from her, my heart still heavy, but now there was a sense of resolve within me. I had made up my mind. I needed the truth. I needed her to explain herself, to show me that she could be honest, that she could be the woman I once believed her to be. "Tell me everything," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "Tell me about Richard more. Tell me about the deal. I need to know what I'm dealing with. I need to understand why you kept this from me." She took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly as she began to speak. "I never meant to drag you into this. Richard, he's an investor, but he's also connected to people I didn't understand at first. The deal was supposed to help me advance at the firm to get ahead. But I didn't realize how deep I was getting into it. I didn't realize who I was dealing with. And now, it's all out of control. I sat there, listening, feeling the weight of her words, but there was still a part of me that couldn't fully accept it. "And you thought you could handle this on your own?" I asked, my voice rising. "You thought you could keep something like this from me, keep me in the dark while you made these decisions without me?" "I was scared," she said, tears streaming down her face now. "I was scared of what would happen if I told you the truth. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to admit how much I had screwed up." I stared at her, my chest tight with emotion. The woman I had married wasn't the person I had known all these years. The woman sitting in front of me was broken, lost, and afraid. But that didn't erase the hurt, the betrayal. "You've been lying to me for months, Sarah. You've been hiding things from me. How can I trust you again?" "I don't know," she whispered, "but I'm asking you to try. I don't want to lose you." I sat there, my mind spinning. Could I trust her again? Could I forgive her for what she had done? I didn't know. But one thing was certain. The truth was out, and now it was up to me to decide what to do with it. The next few days felt like I was trapped in a fog, unable to see clearly, unable to make sense of the confusion swirling around me. Sarah's confession had opened a door I wasn't sure I was ready to walk through. The guilt, the secrecy, the lies, it was all so overwhelming. I couldn't stop thinking about everything she had told me, about how deep she had gone, how much she had hidden from me, and how I had been left in the dark for so long. I had always thought I knew her. We had built our life together from the ground up, sharing our hopes, dreams, fears, and everything in between. But now, everything felt like a lie. A carefully constructed lie built on trust that had been shattered in a single moment. I spent the next few days in silence trying to come to terms with what had happened. I couldn't talk to Sarah. I couldn't look at her without feeling the weight of the betrayal pressing down on me. Every time I saw her, the anger, the hurt, surged back and I didn't know how to deal with it. But at the same time, I couldn't ignore the small voice inside me that still cared for her, that still loved her, despite everything she had done. It was a confusing, painful place to be, torn between love and betrayal, between wanting to forgive and wanting to move on. I didn't know how to make sense of any of it. My mind kept racing, questioning everything. Was this just a moment of weakness? A mistake? Or was this who she really was? Was the woman I had married, the woman I had trusted with everything, the same person standing in front of me now? I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't even begin to process it. But there was one thing I did know. I couldn't keep running from this. I couldn't keep pretending like it didn't matter. I had to make a decision. I had to decide if this was the end, if our marriage was over, or if there was a chance to rebuild, to heal, to move forward. I walked into the living room one evening, after another long, soul-crushing day of avoiding the reality of the situation. Sarah was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, her face blank and tired. She didn't even look up when I entered, and for a moment, I thought about walking away, about leaving her to figure it out on her own. But I knew I couldn't do that. I had to face her. I had to face us. "Sarah," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine for the first time in days. There was something in her gaze, something fragile, something raw, that made my heart twist. She had been so strong for so long, but now I could see the vulnerability in her, the same vulnerability I had seen when we first met. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Her voice was hesitant, unsure, like she didn't know if she had the right to ask after everything. I didn't answer immediately. I just stared at her, trying to figure out what I was feeling, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. I could feel the anger still simmering beneath the surface, but there was also something else, something softer, something that was still holding onto the hope that we could fix this. "I don't know," I said finally, my voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep living with this lie." She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. "I never wanted any of this. But I was so scared, so lost, and I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep it from you, but I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Her apology felt genuine, but the weight of her actions was still there. I could hear the sincerity in her voice, but I couldn't forget the secrets she had kept, the lies she had told. How could I ever forget that? "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said quietly. The words hurt to say, but they were the truth. "I don't know if I can trust you again." "I understand," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I'm asking you to let me try. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that I can change, that I can make things right." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words press on my chest. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she could change, that we could rebuild. But there was a part of me, a part that was scared, that didn't know if I could ever move past the hurt, the betrayal. You don't understand, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You don't understand what this has done to me. The trust we had, the life we built, it's all shattered now. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. I know, she said, her voice full of regret. I know I've destroyed everything, and I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try, please give me that chance. I stared at her, my heart torn in two. I wanted so badly to believe her, to go back to the way things were, but I didn't know if that was possible. Could I forgive her? Could I really forget the lies, the secrets, the fear? Could we rebuild from the rubble of our broken marriage? I stood up, packing across the room, my mind racing. I couldn't make this decision, not yet, but I couldn't keep living in limbo either. I needed to know what I wanted, what was best for me, for us. I don't know what to do, I said, my voice cracking with frustration. I don't know if I can move past this, but I can't keep pretending like everything's fine. Sarah stood up slowly, walking toward me, her eyes never leaving mine. I don't want you to pretend, she said softly. I don't want you to keep going through the motions. I want us to face this, together, if you'll give me the chance. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. The decision weighed heavily on me, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't make this decision alone. I needed time. Time to think, time to reflect on what I really wanted. I can't promise anything right now, I said finally, my voice quiet but firm. I need time to figure this out. I need time to understand if this is something we can fix, or if we're too far gone. She nodded, tears slipping down her face. I understand. Take all the time you need, but I'll be here. I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I can be the woman you need. I walked toward the door, my heart heavy with the weight of the decision I had to make. Sarah didn't follow me. She didn't try to stop me. She just stood there watching me, silently accepting my need for space. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if we would find a way back to each other. But I knew one thing, the road to healing would be long and it would be filled with difficult choices. And for the first time in years, I didn't know if our marriage would survive this.